I'm intrigued by this because I'm not really much of a sports fan of anything, and I was reading up on this, and it's really interesting. But just to sort of introduce you to people, I'm Liz Carmouche. You're an Ultimate Fighting Championship. What do you guys call yourself? You're not a kickboxer. What is it?
MMA fighter.
MMA. Oh, because it's mixed martial arts fighter.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you're going to be participating in the first women's title fight shortly.
The first ever UFC fight, and then the first title fight for the UFC.
Okay. Now, so there have been. Here's what I'm confused about. Maybe because I don't really know what the FFC is and all these different things. I Googled online and found previous fights that you were in with women. So clearly there are women's mixed martial arts tournaments, or fights. But how does this differ? Why is this new? Or what's new about this?
So they have different organizations that host the fights. And they have, for instance, they have Bellator, they have Dream, and they used to have Strikeforce.
Right.
Zuffa is the owner of the UFC and Strikeforce.
Right.
And they bought out Strikeforce, and that organization ended. They have never had women participate in fights in the UFC. It's been a predominantly and only male-dominated sport within that organization.
And this has been for like 20 years now, I think, right? That the UFC's been around. And now, is the UFC sort of the big organization when you're talking about mixed martial arts fighting, or?
Yeah, it's like going to the Super Bowl. It's the best of the best to get into this organization.
So that's why it's important that women are finally being represented with their own tournaments. Now, one thing I had read, one of the articles out there was talking about some concern that I don't know if it's the head of the UFC or FFC, whichever term this is, had basically used sort of conditional terms to talk about your guys' fight, saying, well, we're going to see how this goes as to whether we're going to continue having women's competitions, things like that. Has that been sort of any concern out there about sort of what the future is for these sort of women's tournaments or women's?
No, Dana White, to me personally and to everyone that I've known so far, has not expressed that it was going to be conditional at all. I think it's simply it's all about ratings, and it's all about interest for the people and for the fans. And if there isn't interest there, then you can't exactly market something that doesn't have market value. Now, so I think that's really his concern. And he wants to build a division, but he has to find the women for it. And I think this is that first fight that's going to open that door. Right. And then he has to see what else comes into play and where it goes from there. He certainly wants to build the women's organization and build women's MMA. It's just a matter of who can he get to do that and what are the possibilities from.
And what have you guys seen in terms of support for the sport?
Tons of support. Dana's been really great about trying to get us into different media outlets that we're interested in, and really about just pushing it, making sure that everybody knows who we are and gets as much publicity for it as possible.
But I mean, just amongst the fans. I mean, have you guys had really good support in the past from a large fan base?
In the past, not as much, and now it's tremendous difference from what it used to be. There's a lot more fan support for this fight and for us participating in the UFC.
Right. So, I mean, just in the past couple of years, or who's the fan base? Is it women or is it a mix?
It's men and women.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, you're a former Marine, and when did you leave? Around 2010, when you started fighting, or what? When did you?
December 29th, 2009. I left the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And January 1st, 2010 is when I started participating and training for MMA.
And how long were you in the Marines for?
5 years, 4 months.
Okay, and you were in the Middle East. Were you in Iraq, or where were you stationed?
I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, but I did 3 tours to Iraq.
Oh wow, okay. Now, were you out at the time, or when did you sort of publicly come out? I guess, although there's so many different layers of that, I guess.
I didn't really publicly come out until I was involved in MMA, and when I was still in, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was in place, and I was in the unit I was in particular wasn't open to the concept and the idea. So it took me getting out of the Marine Corps for me to actually openly come out.
Oh, interesting. So I mean, because I know in talking to sort of other service members, some of them found that within their own unit, they were basically out with, sort of a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, so they could protect themselves against the policy. But where you were, was it sort of clear that wasn't really going to be an option?
Yeah, absolutely. My chain of command was not cooperative. I even heard like our next door neighbors in our unit, one of the higher ranking women, she was able to come out openly. One of the guys too, and their command didn't care. Our command, if they even smelled the possibility, then they threatened to out everyone.
And these were other Marines, you mean, the other folks. So it wasn't just a Marine issue. It was literally just where you were within the Marines.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Now, I'm curious, and I don't know. I mean, I started to get into the issue of women's sports, and as I said, I'm an idiot about sports in general, and even I wouldn't say even more so about women's sports because honestly, I don't follow guy sports, so I'm probably more equal in that regard. But I've always I am familiar because I've been covering gay issues for so long, and also just national politics, but really, the specialization on the gay issues, and I know that coming out in sports has been an issue for years. And it's an issue the community's been focusing on because there's a lot of interest in sports by a lot of gay people. And I've always wondered, I mean, what's the perception? Do people, perceive, but B, what's the truth? Is it any easier for men versus women to come out in sports?
From my own perspective and just my own experiences, it seems like it's a lot easier for women to come out in sports. I think society as a whole is able to accept lesbians. It's attractive. You see it in television.
Right.
It's cool to be gay for women, but when it's men, it's quite the opposite. And I think that's exactly reflected when you see it in sports. There are not very few men have come out openly, whereas you see a lot more women doing it, and it's a lot more accepted. It may be more hush hush, where they may not be vocal about their animosity towards it. But with the men, you don't hear them being allowed to come out at all.
Do you know other guys in sports that are basically closeted at all? I mean, do you sort of deal sort of in the sports world overall, or?
No, I have no gaydar. I wish I could say that there's this LGBT community that I'm in communication with, and I know everybody that's at least secretly in the closet gay and then openly gay. But I don't know if anyone else is unless they've told me themselves.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. Actually, was whether there really is any kind of a gay or LGBT sports community, but you haven't really had a sense of one so far.
No, like I said, no gaydar. So if there is, then I'm naive to it. And I have nothing yet.
They got to wear a pin.
Hidden door that I've been missing this whole time.
No, that's cool. Now, what? So now, I mean, obviously you wouldn't have been out in the military, but were you out to friends at all before, or I mean, sort of how far out were you over your life before the fighting?
When I was 22, so I was still in the Marine Corps, was when I came back for my first tour to Iraq, and that was when I finally came out to my family and came out to myself and told them. But it was just a few family members, close family, and a few close friends, and that was it. Okay. And nobody else, nobody I worked with knew, nobody else, just close friends and family. That was it.
Right. Now, how old are you now?
I'm 28.
Oh, okay. So you're still young. Oh, so that was 6 years ago then. So really for first coming out.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did people handle that as far as family or friends or? I know that's always a fun story.
It's amusing just because my sister and my mom were like, "Yeah, no shit, we knew you were gay. We were waiting for you to tell us."
I know and you're at the same time you're going great. You're going, "What do you mean you knew? What did I do?"
No, not even that. It was like, great, you guys could have helped me rather than I'll be so slow with picking it up and finding out for myself. You guys could have helped me. They're like, yeah, we tried. You just weren't picking up on it. So no, everybody was great.
No, that's really cool. No, actually, I know what I was going to ask you about sort of coming out in sports. I mean, as far as sort of perceiving that it's been easier for women to come out, do you ever have to deal with the stereotype, though, of guys thinking, well, of course, any woman in a tough sport, of course she's gay? I mean, because I almost feel like that would be more backlash that you'd face to some degree. Yeah,
and absolutely. That's more often that is what I face. I was just talking about with one of my clients today, and she was saying that some of her coworkers are like, "Oh, you train Muay Thai?" And she's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "But I thought that you had a boyfriend, you had a kid, so you're trying to tell us you're actually gay then?" And she's like, "Just because you fight or because you train does not mean that you're gay." They're like, "Yes, it does. It does." Right. So yeah, that's what we hear, and it's a running joke. But there's more often than not, there's straight women in the sport. And you would think, I would even think myself, like, oh, okay, well, if they're going to go out there and butt heads all the time, then they must be, like, all out there and gay, and they're not most of the time.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about that because I was watching a couple of the videos of you fighting, and it got me thinking that, have you ever fought a guy? As far as, I mean, not professionally, but meaning in a tournament, not some guy you had to kick his ass on the street. I mean,
no, I've never participated in a tournament besides my first one in Strikeforce. But in practice, that's all I do is train with the guys.
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, it didn't, and I really don't know martial arts, but basically this struck me as sort of a mixture of martial arts and kickboxing. Is that correct, or is that accurate?
It's a mixture of boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu.
Okay, there you go. Right. Now, is that the kind of thing where, I mean, I guess how big a factor is strength there? Because what I'm really asking is, does it make sense to put the delineation? Yeah, there's my dog in the background. Yours will go off soon too. Does it make sense to sort of do this delineation between men in the sport and women in the sport?
No, and when I practice, strength hasn't come up to the issue. That I'm a freak when it comes to strength.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the reasons how I got my nickname is because
Well, your
I was
nickname's Gorilla,
surprisingly
right?
strong for my build. Yeah, the gorilla.
Right.
I know for other women it is an issue, but we make up for that with proper diet. We make up for that with just pushing ourselves harder. We have to work that much harder.
Right.
But all I do is I practice in every form of martial art is always male partners.
That's interesting. Okay, so I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, but I mean, do you think there'd be a problem if you had a mixed sport? As far as, I don't know, would some women who aren't really as qualified or strong get into the ring and get the crap beaten out of them? Then again, not like that doesn't happen to guys too. This almost reminds me of the women in combat debate to some degree.
Yeah, to some degree. I think to some degree some women will succeed and they'll do wonderful and show once again that women can step up to that position. But I also think that there's a point when in development when men hit puberty and they get testosterone and women develop more estrogen, and testosterone is going to feed their muscles and give them the power and strength that they need that sets them stronger for women.
Right.
So there is going to be that separation. I think it is important to keep a women's sport and a men's sport.
Oh, okay, you do. That's interesting. Okay, what do you feel about women in combat?
I support it. I think it's going to be a difficult transition for everyone involved, but it's not like women haven't already been put in those combat positions and had to face those things head on. It's just now we're going to be able to fill job positions that directly affect putting us on the front line. It's not like we haven't been there before. It's just now society is going to be able to have a label for it directly.
Right, and did you find most of your sort of female coworkers when you were in the military kind of felt the same way, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
There's a few who they did what's called desk jobs, so they just sat behind a computer all day, and they never really had to go into harm's way. They were always protected. And I found that most often than not, if they were really feminine women and in those positions, then they usually didn't believe that women deserved to be on the front lines because they thought it would compromise a mission.
Right.
If for no other reason that men would go against what they're being told by their higher command just to go save a woman and compromise the whole mission.
Right. Well, it's funny, too, because some of the things I was reading online from the religious right were literally, and I mean, to some degree, it's like talking about the sport mixing the races with races. That's exactly what the issue really is to some degree. Mixing the sexes was, talking about women coming back with PTSD and all these kind of things. And first you're kind of like going, well, like they don't if they're serving in the military, but also, and it's okay for guys, but somehow when it happens to women, it's worse. I don't know. Again, maybe that's a generational thing, too. It's...
Yeah, and it is. It really is. I mean, we're every day and each decade that goes on, we're making our minds are changing. We're developing a society and coming to terms with new things. And this is just one more thing that's going to have to change. But women have been coming back with PTSD. This isn't something new. Women have been getting shot at and getting blown up and being in harm's way. It's just now they're filling a job billet that specifically says you're going to be in this position. Nothing's really changing. We just... some of the training that we would experience now, we just will really go through that training.
Have you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, my third tour to Iraq. What I wanted to do when I joined the Marine Corps is I wanted to be what's called a grunt. I wanted to be the ground pounders, one of the front lines, and it was something like, hey, you're a chick, sorry you can't do it. And my third tour, I got to be attached to a unit and do exactly everything that they did and be in harm's way just like they were. But it wasn't a specific job position. I got to be attached to them in like a carry-on person. But it was already happening. It was there.
Right.
People just didn't necessarily know that.
Have you ever got any kind of blowback to the sport, or just in terms of women's fighting having to deal with the same societal issues of people don't want to see women getting beaten up, women getting bloody or knocked out, or I don't know what? Yeah,
there's been people that have come up to me and like I'll have a bruise or a cut in a grocery line and ask what happened, what's that about? I'm like, well, I'm a professional fighter. I was trained. They're like, why would women do that? Why would you do that to yourself? That's your face. You're supposed to be pretty. I'm like, I came to terms with this a long time ago, that this could be sacrificed and that there's nothing going on here, so it's fine. But there's certainly people out there, even that they come into at the gym that just work out and want to know why I even bother. What's the point?
That's funny. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
As far as teammates and trainers and coworkers, no, not at all. They don't feel like that at all. They think that women should be right in there just with the men.
Why do you do it then? What would you tell them if somebody came up and said, you're a girl and you're fighting? That's kind of different. Why do you do it?
Because I love it. I've always been drawn to have some type of a physical strain, a physical exertion through workouts, and this is what I found just made the best match. Growing up, I had temper issues, and my sister and I would fight. We didn't fight and pull each other's hair. We fought and punched and kicked each other. So this made sense.
And now you're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
What? Real quick before we go, I wanted to ask you about if you've been following it all in the last 24 hours, the Chris Culliver story, the San Francisco 49er who sort of made the nasty comments yesterday, the day before about there are no gays on my team, and if there are any, they need to get out. And then finally apologized late last night. I wasn't sure if you'd sort of followed that at all.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to follow it, but I did hear about it today. I think it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people, if caught off guard, may say things that they don't necessarily mean. I mean, there's always that issue, but that's not something I've had to experience. My team accepts me. Everybody knew from the beginning that I was gay, and they're like, and it's always been the same thing. We don't care if there's a gay teammate, girl, guy, it doesn't matter to us. We just want a good teammate that's going to help us and we can help them. It never made a difference to them.
And your fans have a nickname?
Yeah, the Lizbos.
The Lizbos. Who came up with that?
My coach, Manny.
Oh, God. It was the kind of thing you'd be like behind closed doors go, it's really funny, and there's no way in hell I'm writing it or saying it. That's funny. All right, I'll give you like cheesy closing, which is just, since, so much of, I think, the issues lately we focused on when we talk about any kind of, gay heroes or whatever you want to call it, but any people who have sort of succeeded in being openly gay and had a career and maybe even more publicly profiled is, looking at the kids and what they go through today. And I mean, I hate these questions when they get asked of me, but I think they are relevant questions. But, message for sort of today's kids who are in high school, gay, maybe especially lesbians, looking what you've accomplished and not sure if they can pull off the same thing as far as coming out and having a successful life.
I think they absolutely can. If one thing that the difficulties that I experienced in being able to come out in the military taught me was that anyone can do it. It's just a matter of having faith in yourself and knowing that that's who you are and coming to terms with it and then live it. Don't hold back. That's some of my biggest regrets growing up, is that I was conflicted with who I was and I didn't come to terms with it until I was in my 20s. And I wish I had done that earlier. I think that, especially as kids, they're capable of doing anything. There's nothing that can hold them back. If the sky is the limit at that, until you're an adult and you made mistakes and now you're really set in stone, as kids, you can achieve anything. Really, the sky is the limit for them. And if they want to come out and they want to follow a career that they're going to be open with, then that's great. And I just wish the best to them. And I know that they can do it.
That's cool. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah, thank you.